At their final meeting of the year, the Peoria City Council voted unanimously to spend $300,000 to keep New Hope Apartments on Northeast Jefferson Street open for now. Taylor Fleming joins us from the newsroom with more information. Taylor.
Lizzie, the fire department condemned the apartment building last Thursday after a fire caused $60,000 in damage. Several other disasters have happened over the past several months. That leaves 72 people who live in the building at risk of displacement. The city has $523,000 left in Biden-era American Rescue Plan funds intended to support the homeless. New Hope Apartments is a permanent supportive housing unit run by Phoenix Community Development Services. The money will be used to fix the fire alarm system, hire additional staff, including a fire watch, and possibly relocate people.
I agree it's a Band-Aid to a very severe wound, but what we don't want to have happen is 72 individuals find themselves unhoused as we enter the coldest part of the winter.
The Red Cross is providing temporary assistance through December 18th. After they leave, around 20 residents will move into Dream Center and Pathway Ministries. New Hope Apartments is still at high risk of closing sometime in February, since a change in federal funding has severely cut the amount of money available for permanent supportive housing. Lizzie?